Wall Street ends Friday's session in the green as the stock market built on its comeback from last Monday's violent rout. Meanwhile, stocks in the Asia Pacific are trading mixed. The GIFT Nifty is implying a slightly weaker start for the Indian markets. Brent crude trades at around $79 a barrel. Crude oil prices gained 4% for the week as recession fears eased and tensions of a wider war in the West Asia have erupted. The Hindenburg research alleges that the SEBI's reluctance to act against the Adani Group might be linked to its chair, Madhabi Puri Booch, having stakes in the offshore funds associated with the conglomerate and managed by IIFL Wealth. The regulator says SEBI chief is in compliance with all disclosures, also denies that the allegations that SEBI was favoring REITs. Madhabi Puri Booch and her husband rebut the allegations made by Hindenburg, say the investment in the fund referred to in the report was made in 2015 when they both were private citizens living in Singapore and almost 2 years before Madhabi Puri Booch joined SEBI, and that they have given all disclosures to the regulator. The Adani Group also says that the allegations are malicious. And all eyes will be on India's CPI data for the month of July and the industrial production data for the month of June. Both reports are expected later today. Good morning. It's the start of a brand new week and a truncated one at that. You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormuz Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring this morning. It's mostly a positive start across the Asia Pacific, but the Hang Seng is being a bit of an underperformer as we speak, 0.4% lower. The Japanese markets are shut today on account of a holiday, so no cues coming from there. But the Taiwanese index is the outperformer this morning, almost 2% higher. The South Korean indices are also trading with gains of at least 1%. As are the indices in Australia. So green across the screen, barring the Hang Seng when it comes to the Asian markets. Pull up the GIFT Nifty as well, and that will give you a slightly negative start for the implied open. Remember, we recovered most of the losses that we made last week, considering the rebound that we saw over the last 2 days of the trading session, but we still ended the week lower, and it looks like the Nifty is set to open at least 50 points lower is what the GIFT Nifty is suggesting as of now. But moving to Wall Street then, where Friday's trading session was in the green, where benchmark indices clawed back much of the week's losses in a major recovery after Monday's very sharp sell-off. The S&P 500 gained over 0.5%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also gained a similar quantum, and the Dow Jones also added close to 50 points on Friday. For the week, the S&P 500 was down almost at the flat line actually, while the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq were down around 0.6% and 0.2% respectively. CNBC Steve Kovac gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
Markets ended the week roughly flat. A few days of gains mostly canceled out the massive Monday sell-off. The Dow was up 51 points, the S&P 500 climbed 25 points, and the Nasdaq closed 85 points higher. JP Morgan Chase has rolled out a generative AI assistant to tens of thousands of its employees, according to people with knowledge of the plans. The bank is expecting the software to eventually be used by employees as much as Zoom. And car maker Stellantis will lay off over 2,400 workers as it discontinues the Ram 1500 Classic pickup truck. The layoffs will affect employees at a plant near Detroit and are expected to start as soon as October. The company has not announced a vehicle to replace the truck, which is sold as an entry-level pickup.
And staying with the U.S. markets, let's also listen to what Mark Mobius of Mobius Emerging Opportunities has to say on the Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rates going forward.
The rates are just one factor. I mean, I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on the interest rates. What they really should be looking at is the money supply. You know, you saw a money supply going up by 20+% during COVID. Then it came down. It actually started decreasing. Now it's come up by 1 or 2%. You have to keep an eye on that because a lot of this liquidity is squeezing the markets. So I don't think the interest rates are going to be the real determining factor going forward.
And that's all we have on the global market action. But how will all of these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in with how the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and of course the FNO setup this morning. First up, Vamakshi joins us to get all the market cues we need to watch out for today. Vamakshi, good morning. What's the setup looking like?
Well, good morning, Hormaz. The setup does not look so good as of now. In fact, last week, the bears dominated the market. Negative cues such as the unwind of yen's carry trade, US recession fears, all of those weighed on markets globally. Nifty too declined for the second consecutive week, and it has underperformed global benchmark indices. Nifty saw cuts of 1.42% for the week gone by as compared to Dow Jones as well as S&P 500 and Nasdaq, which traded with much lower cuts. In fact, in the week gone by, 37 out of 50 Nifty stocks ended in the red. We had Grasim, Tata Steel, BPCL, which were the top losers last week. But the bulls made a very strong comeback on Friday. Nifty outperformed broader indices. Nifty was up nearly 1%, while Nifty midcap was up nearly 0.9%. All sectoral indices also advanced in the trading session on Friday, with Nifty PSU Bank leading with gains of around 2%. Nifty Media, Auto, IT and Realty were all up over 1.5%. But looking forward to today, global cues, we will be watching out for OPEC's monthly report, India's CPI data, as well as the industrial production data. As far as earnings are concerned, a couple of earnings in focus: Vodafone Idea, Volta, Suntec Realty, NMDC, IRFC, Hindustan Copper, and Happiest Minds. On account of the Hindenburg and Adani saga that still continues, we will be watching out for Adani Group shares as well as 361 WAM. But as of now, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a negative start.
Kamakshi, thanks a lot for that. A negative start, 45 points is the implied open as suggested by the GIFT Nifty. Sudarshan now joins in with cues from the FNO space. Sudarshan, good morning. What is the setup looking like on the FNO side?
Morning, Hamas. So on Friday, we saw that a big move in market led by it was a healthy global cues, and we saw all the front-line indices gaining somewhere in the range of 1 to 2%. But we'll have to see if we manage to build on to those gains, because for today, GIFT Nifty is indicating a start with minor cuts. Talking about institutional activities, we saw buying figure by both FIs and DIs. FIs bought shares of almost rupees 400 crore, while DIs bought shares of more than rupees 4,000 crore. In the index futures too, FIs bought shares of almost rupees 460 crore and have added long positions by 3,100 contracts, and at the same time have cut short positions by almost 4,300 contracts, and this takes long exposure to 52% with net long position of more than 22,000. On the options front, on the call side, we saw major activities in 24,400 call, where they have added 15.34 lakh shares with a premium at 135, and in 24,600 call, we saw addition of more than 11 lakh shares with a premium at 54. On the put side, major activities were seen in 24,200 and 24,000 strikes, and this takes support for Nifty at 24,100, and resistance is seen somewhere at 24,400. In the stocks, we have now 15 stocks in ban, and with 4 new entrants. Those 4 new entrants are Bandhan Bank, Biocon, Granules and SAIL. Keep an eye on these stocks.
4 new stocks in the FNO ban. Sudarshan, thanks a lot for that update. Time for a short break here on Power Breakfast. Up next, Hindenburg Research publishes a new report raising questions of alleged conflict of interest pertaining to market regulator SEBI's chairperson. More details on that on the other side. Stay tuned. Back with us here on Power Breakfast. Now, Hindenburg Research has put allegations on SEBI chairperson on counts of conflict of interest with regards to the Adani Group and questioned her credibility in investigating Hindenburg's allegations against the conglomerate. Nisha Poddar is here to get us the full account. Nisha, good morning. Tell us more.
Good morning. The whole weekend was quite hectic because of the allegations, and the report came out from Hindenburg Research, and that being countered by all the parties that were named in the allegations as well. So let's take stock of what really transpired and where it lands. So first, talking about Hindenburg's research report, and there are 4 counts of broad allegations that have been made that has questioned the conflict of interest of SEBI chairperson Madhavi Puri Buch, and also her credibility in investigating the matter and the allegations that were raised by earlier report of Hindenburg Research on Adani Group. So her connection with Adani Group is a big allegation that has been put forth by Hindenburg's research report. On the first count, it is that investments in offshore funds were allegedly used by Adani to siphon off funds, and here they have mentioned the two funds in which at some point Madhavi Puri Buch and her husband had invested. They are IPE Plus Fund as well as Global Dynamic Opportunities Fund, where IIFL Wealth or 361's name has been also mentioned. The second allegation is the conflict of interest in a Singapore-based entity, which is Agora Partners, where they claim that 100% is held by Madhavi Puri Buch even today. And they have also said that conflict of interest in Indian entity Agora Advisory India, where again Madhavi Puri Buch owns stake, and that one is an active consulting firm. On the other hand, they have also brought about the linkage of her husband Dhaval Buch with Blackstone in an advisory role, which they allegate, and the allegations are that that particular connection has made SEBI chairperson come up with various flexibility as well as relaxed norms for REITs in India for the benefit of Blackstone. Now, Madhavi Puri Buch, in two comments and responses in detailed statements to these allegations, has clarified and duly refuted all the claims that have been made by Hindenburg's research report. She has said that all the disclosures as well as recusal norms of SEBI have been diligently followed. She has clarified that as private citizens, she had invested in those funds, and at no point were any of those funds used or engaged in investing in Adani Group of shares or companies. She also highlighted that Blackstone Group connection with Dhaval has been added to the recusal list, which has been maintained by SEBI, and she says that all the disclosures had been put forth as per SEBI norms. In this, SEBI has also come out with a statement backing the chairperson, saying that they have duly investigated all the points that were mentioned by Hindenburg against Adani Group. They have also said that the chairperson has recused herself in matters involving the potential conflict of interest, and SEBI goes a step forward in also cautioning the investors, because the markets are going to open today and SEBI could be worried about a knee-jerk reaction of these allegations, and has cautioned the investors to be calm and also exercise due diligence, and also highlighted that Hindenburg Research may have short positions in the securities covered in this particular report. Now, Hindenburg, after looking at all these counter claims as well as rebuttals from the entities, has come out late evening with another set of questions, highlighting that Madhavi Puri Buch has already confirmed her engagement with some of the funds that they have mentioned, and they also have highlighted that there are prominent clients in the industry that the consulting firm of her husband is doing business with. So they have raised a question, do these include clients SEBI is tasked with regulating? Also, they have highlighted the Adani Group linkage and whether or not those funds were used in siphoning money for Vinod Adani. And they also reiterated that with the funds relation of Madhavi Puri Buch as the chairperson of SEBI, could it have impacted the credibility of SEBI in investigating these matters and the funds which was related to the SEBI chairperson herself? And they have again reiterated the obvious massive conflict of interest in their report and their tweets. And finally, they have asked a very important question to end this dialogue at the moment, that will the SEBI chairperson commit to a full, transparent and public investigation into these issues? So the matter remains burning at this point. Today, the market is going to take cognizance, but two important points. IIFL Wealth, which is now 361, has denied all the claims. They have confirmed the linkage and investment by Madhavi Puri Buch, but on the other hand has denied any investment in Adani Group through one of the funds that have been mentioned, IPE, and they have said that no investments were made in Adani Group. AMFI has also come in support and has said that these kind of allegations actually bring down and affect the overall capital markets in India.
Nisha, thanks a lot for that detailed explanation of what has transpired over the weekend and going into today as well. Time for a short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodity space. Stay tuned, back on the other side. Welcome back, and Manisha Gupta now joins in with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. What are you picking up today?
Harman, thank you for that. Well, to start with, I'll want to talk about the crude oil prices, which have started moving strong in Asia. We did see 3.5% of gains in the previous week itself, and this is on the back of positive economic data, the U.S. Fed rate expectations, which seem to be getting louder now, and the supply concerns from Libya Shirara oil field. The crude inventory has also declined for the first time in 5 weeks and fell to a 6-month low, and that has been supportive as well. You know, for this week, it is going to be about the dollar index, which is holding as of now above 103. This is ahead of the U.S. inflation data and the U.S. retail sales data, which comes in on Thursday. And we have seen some support come in in case of gold because of that as well. Geopolitical risk, U.S. Fed rate cut expectations seem to be supporting this one as well. So we have started Asia on a stronger note for energy, where you have crude, heating oil, coal prices, all trading in the positive. And there are some buying opportunities that we have seen come in for gold and silver also.
Manisha, thanks a lot for that update. Staying with commodities, let's also listen in to what Amrita Sen of Energy Aspects has to say about the oil market fundamentals. Listen in.
Look, I think the view we've been talking about all throughout this week, and you know very well how busy it's been with the macro mayhem, is that oil has remained relatively unscathed in the grand scheme of things. Yes, we came off a little bit last Friday and Monday, but in all senses, it's recouped the losses, and especially when you look at the curve, the front backwardation, which is the front month versus the second month, it's over $1 in WTI, which really signals the oil market fundamentals themselves are tight, regardless of all the worries around macro. And yes, of course, demand isn't particularly good. We think demand growth is about 1 million barrels per day. It's still stable. But, you know, it's not like 2 million barrels per day like we've seen in the past few years. But regardless of that, what we are seeing is a tight market.
Amrita Sen there on the oil markets. Moving on to updates from the sports world now. India won a bronze medal in the men's 57 kg freestyle wrestling event, beating Puerto Rico by 13-5. 21-year-old Aman Sehrawat became India's 7th wrestler to win an Olympic medal. This was India's 6th medal at the Paris Olympic Games and the first in wrestling. Meanwhile, Indian wrestler Ritika Hooda lost to top seed of Kyrgyzstan in the quarterfinals of the women's 76 kg event. And finally, the Court of Arbitration for Sport has deferred its decision on Vinesh Fogat's appeal against the disqualification from the Olympic finals that has been deferred now to the 13th of August. And before we call time on this edition of Power Breakfast, let's again take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. It was a mostly positive start to the Asian screen as we began the show, and it remains that way. The Taiwanese index is still trading with gains of close to 1.5%. The Hang Seng is continuing to be the underperformer across the Asia Pacific, currently trading with losses of 0.4%. The Australian indices have built on their gains as we speak. South Korean indices are also doing well. Both the Kospi and the small cap index, which is the Kosdaq, also are trading with gains of over 1% each. The Chinese markets have also opened. The CSI 300 currently trades flat, and the Hang Seng continues to remain the underperformer across the Asian screen. But pull up the GIFT Nifty as well. We started the show, it was implying a 50-point downtick, currently also indicating a 40-point downtick as we speak. So a slightly negative start anticipated for our own markets. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call takes the action forward.